Okay, so yeah, here we are, day after the fight with Crawford Spence, and yeah, I'm doing just kind of a little post-fight breakdown here, and yeah, so it's definitely a surprising outcome, I think, to many in this for this fight. But first, I wanted to kind of talk about my system, my prediction system, and yeah, so I'm 2 for 2 now on the last, the last two fights I scored up here with my prediction system, and yeah, the previous fight was Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis, and yeah, I mean, you tell me in my heart I wanted Ryan to win that fight, but on the paper I clearly had Tank winning that fight, and same thing here. I picked my system predicted Crawford to win, and sure enough, that's what happened again. And if you listen to kind of what I said, it almost kind of was right pinpoint on, because I said that Crawford hits you with those kind of punches that you don't see coming, and those are the ones that knock you out, that hurt you, because you've never seen Spence get hurt like this, get dominated like this, and yeah, Crawford just kind of dissected him, just picked him apart, kind of like round by round right there, and I figured it would maybe go till maybe like the 10th or the 11th, maybe the 12th, but yeah, he got him out of there. I think it was the 9th. So 3 knockdowns. Yeah, Ref had to come in and stop it. But yeah, there's another channel that I watched a little bit. This guy, and I don't want to mention names or anything like that, but he actually had predicted Spence is going to win, and it was kind of cheerleading pretty hard for Spence. And nothing against Spence. I like all fighters, but kind of unrealistic about what Crawford's actual abilities are, and a lot of people were kind of in denial about Crawford, but I could see that hey, he's knocking out everybody, and knocking them out worse than what Spence had done in the past. So definitely knew that Crawford was the real deal coming to this one, and he just definitely proved that. And yeah, the surprising part to me was just how easily he was able to counterpunch Spence, and just how he altered his normal strategy as he starts off orthodox for the first few rounds, and then at some point he switches over to southpaw. But this time he did the whole fight southpaw. And I thought that was actually pretty smart, because it took away all the advantages that Spence was used to having. It threw him just right out the window, and tit for tat, Crawford was had the better footwork, had the better defense, had the better chin. I mean, he won in all categories. So yeah, big respect to Crawford, and now he's like 2-time unified world champion. So definitely, this guy's on his way to Canastota, I think, for sure. But so where does Crawford go from here? Well, I think that he already called out his guy, man. He wants to take on Charlo, but I don't know if that's going to really happen, because Charlo's already kind of not trying to call out Canelo, which I think Canelo, I think it's a bad fight for Charlo right there to step up, a couple of weight classes up to Canelo. I think that's going to be a mistake, but it looks like he's kind of headed more in that direction. So Charlo vacates 154, then who does that leave? Maybe Tim Tszyu, he could fight. Danny Garcia, the winner of Danny Garcia and Arislan De Lara, that could be a potential fight right there. I'm going to do a breakdown on that fight. I think that's a sleeper fight coming up here in the next week or two, and yeah, I mean that's an interesting fight and a tough fight to call, and I think that one actually could be fight of the year right there. Very, very likely in my mind. I'm gonna predict that right now, and yeah. So Crawford, obviously wants to go after Charlo, but I don't know if that's really going to happen. And I don't really think it makes sense to fight Spence again. I mean, the fight was too one-sided, and Spence, Crawford really took it to him, and at some point you got to worry about the fighter's health. You know what I mean? Because if Spence fights Crawford again, I mean, I don't see anything other than the same thing happening again. I mean, how much can you improve in 8 months or a year of training? I mean, I don't see anything changing there, and you know, I don't see anything that justifies why there should be a rematch. And definitely, you know, it won't be pay-per-view because, you know, the first fight was too one-sided. So I think Spence would be better off. You know, where does Spence go from here? I think he'd be better off to, you know, take a break and, you know, maybe come back in a year and, you know, take a tune-up fight first, you know, and then figure it out from there. I mean, you know, to go, you know, right back in with Crawford, I think was a mistake, and I even think taking this fight with Crawford now was a mistake. I mean, respect on Spence, but you know, he fought Porter, and then he had the car crash, and then like a year later he fought Danny Garcia, and then he fought Ugas, who had beat Pacquiao, and then he fights Crawford. So I mean, you can't just, you know, you can't just keep fighting killer after killer. I mean, you do have to take some tune-up fights and rest fights, and you know, you got to kind of start questioning their promoters and their management when they're not, you know, they're not giving the fighter some tune-up fights in between the big fights, just to, you know, let them rest up a little bit and let them get their health back, you know. And yeah, so we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, so my prediction in reality would be that, you know, Crawford will probably end up fighting someone like Tim Tszyu or Danny Garcia, winner of Danny Garcia, Aristotle Lara next. So anyhow, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the little segment here, and catch you on the next one. Peace.